Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, we go to let pop culture lair.
Happy Sunday. Ooh, that looks like shit. That looks just better. Happy Sunday, everybody. How is everybody doing? This is a Sunday night weekend wrap up. It's kind of a stale one. I think we got everything. This is one of those rare Sundays where, everything. What is that in the background? Oh, it's the sound. It's these things. One of these things on behind me. And the microphone, Paul. It's sorry about the I'm moving everything for the much aforementioned studio area that I'm building. So this right here, you see behind me, is going to be where the other camera from the other angle. It's originally a microphone one. But my camera, the new camera that I've gotten, will sit on this, and this will be the one that when I want to adjust and bring it forward to you, this will be that one right here. So I'm in the process of getting it ready to get over here. Here is the area I'm moving into is a much larger going back and forth area. So it's going to be cooler because what I'll have is I want a straight on shot. From a far distance, and then I want to have a side so when I turn and talk to you guys, so like they're I think I'm gonna put the screen behind me or the TV screen aside from me, and then when we have a topic, it'll bring up. So what I'll do, instead of having to crowd a bunch of stuff into the shot, I just turn, and now you're looking at what I want you to see. So that's why that's there. Then I also got these things. I got these a while back, but these are the sound so make it so that I'm not talking out of a cardboard box all the time. So I got these. So just like I said, just getting everything ready to make that migration over from here to there. I think you guys will like it when you see it. How are you doing, Bradley? What's going on?
Go. Yeah.
Just off of a day of watching. You know what? I did not think these games in the NFL were going to be entertaining, to be honest with you, because some of the matchups just weren't that good. I thought there was going to be some blowouts. Guy LaFleur, or what's the guy's name? LaFleur, I forgot his first name. If I wake up and Green Bay doesn't have a new coach, I'm gonna be shocked as shit because they fucked that game up. The Bears had no business winning that game. You're up 21-3, and you decide to play I can't stand that in any sport I watch. I don't care what the sport is. I can't stand seeing teams play one game to go up. And I have no dog in the fight. I'm not a Packers fan or anything, but I know just watching the game. And teams, no matter what's hockey, basketball, doesn't matter. They get up big, and then they start playing that pussy. Oh, we got the lead. We just want everything to stay. No, you have to be aggressive. The Packers were there to be The Bears were there to be beaten. The Bears showed up to that game to get beat, and they were getting the hell beat out of them. And all of a sudden, Green Bay just stops. And then you could hear the announcer saying, well, this is a completely different game. Yeah, because what was Green Bay doing? So I think the reason why John Harbaugh didn't take any of the offers that he probably got like 5 minutes after Baltimore fired him is because he was waiting for one of these coaches to fuck up during these games, and one just did. I know people are talking about Miami when it comes to him. I mean, a lot of good reasons, but Green Bay's a ready-made team. He's got a good quarterback. He's got good, he's got a good, a ready-made team that can get him to another Super Bowl, or at least compete for another Super Bowl a lot sooner than anyone else. Cleveland, I don't know what's going on there. That's horrible ownership. So I would not be surprised to wake up and see Jim just got eliminated a few minutes ago. They were the most lopsided of the games. But I'm expecting John Harbaugh to take the Green Bay job, because if you don't fire LaFleur after that disgraceful ass performance, you're never going to fire him. I never want to hear about him being on a hot seat again. If his seat is not on fire, first of all, that tie to the Cowboys, the seat should have been heating up. He should have been like this shit, like, oh my God, it feels fucking hot around here. But tonight or last night, that should be it for him. So yeah, I think that he should take that job. It'd be a great job for him. All right, yeah, Clint, I beat you to the duck, buddy. Beat you to the duck.
Yeah, right behind him. What's up, Fulios? How's it going, Bell Rev?
Hold on, I gotta address this real quick. I did not see this. My stance on it hasn't changed in Nana Vendetta. I haven't seen it anywhere, and it's kind of weird though, because James Gunn as a director, there's a culture of the director or the star being the one to announce anything. James Gunn is a producer on this. But he's also been a director. I don't see him making that. And like I said, I'm not saying this isn't true. Don't get me wrong. It kind of sucks if it's him, but I trust Matt Reeves, but I think there are just a ton of better villains that
if it weren't true, it would have been debunked by now. It's like or if he weren't in talks, that would have been. They Hollywood Reporter. I haven't written for Hollywood Reporter, but I've been in this kind of line of work long enough to know it's like this. If this kind of thing gets announced and there's no truth to it, this gets walked back a lot quicker than the time.
Not with Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves doesn't have that. Matt Reeves doesn't do things like, he doesn't engage like that. Yeah, how many?
No, but there would have been like some kind of like a reps for like. There would have been like update where it says like reps for Sebastian Stan reached out to the outlet and confirmed that this is not the case. It's like that.
Why? No. Why would he have to do that? There's no need for Sebastian Stan to do that.
That's SOP. That would have happened by now.
There's no SOP. What the fuck?
I've seen this. No. I've done.
Right. Listen here.
Line of work. Man.
Variety has fucked up enough shit to where we've had a show. We literally had a show where I had Variety and all these other fucking trades going into the garbage. Even if this is true, that ain't why. If I'm Sebastian Stan, I don't need to announce shit. It gets announced when it gets announced. And as a consumer,
how long ago did we hear this? Like 3-4 days ago.
Yeah, but you seem to think it's like Sebastian Stan's like, oh, I got to get out of here. Sebastian, you know what Sebastian Stan has to do? Collect his check and do his job.
No, he wouldn't.
That's all he has to do.
But they would have reached out to his management.
Who's they? Now. No, if there's an NDA or you've been told, here's the schedule of announcements, you're going to follow that schedule of announcements. If the studio, if Matt Reeves says, okay, you're hired, this is who you're going to be playing, this is when we're going to go public with this is when we're going to come up with this. There's a schedule of announcements. He's going to stick to that, and his reps.
But they're not going to let it sit for like months.
Why? What do they? Not months. We're not talking months. We're only even talking 4 days. He just got announced as a part of the cast, like what, a week and a half ago? Not like we're talking about. We're in May.
And at this point, if there were no veracity to that, there would have.
So if it turns out not to be true, that whole SOP thing is going to sound like a bunch of fucking garbage.
It would be the first time that's happened if that turns out.
It hasn't. Listen,
where it lingered for that long.
I don't chase bullshit ghosts like that. I don't believe in the SOP because I've seen them fuck that up so many times. And we're talking about a magazine and a trade that is at best 50-50. Now, I'm not saying this is not true. Here's the thing, though. And I said this last night, and I'll quote myself. I'll paraphrase myself because I'm going to add some colorful language. You get this out the way. And thank you for your question. This is not towards you individually. This is in general. Until Matt Reeves or Sebastian Stan says shit, I don't give a fuck about what anyone else says. True or not true. Professionalism is important to me when it comes to these things. Until Sebastian Stan or Matt Reeves announces it, true or not, I don't give a fuck. I don't chase my tail anymore when it comes to these trades. All right. I'm not going to play the gambling game that the other 50% that they may be right. Oh, wow, let's go gambling. No. There's people who have the right to, and whose clout and whose credibility means something to me during the production of the Batman Part 2. Depending on what, whether if Scarlett Johansson comes out and says, I'm playing blah, 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 then I give a fuck. If Matt Reeves comes out and says Scarlett Johansson is playing this part, blah, 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 then I give a fuck. Until I hear it from the individuals actually in the movie, I don't care. I don't do the rumor shit. I don't do the speculation shit. Watch the show, guys. Have I not been consistent about that stuff? I will do it at the cost of viewers because I'm pretty sure we could get a whole lot of viewers speculating on bullshit or preemptive bullshit. I just don't want to be that show. If it turns out that Sebastian Stan is Two-Face, not my preference, but that's fine. I'm going to go see the movie. There's no way I'm not going to see the Batman 2. I'd like to see Court of Owls. I would like to see a grounded Mr. Freeze, like, the Ice Truck Killer type of things. But whatever Matt Reeves gives me, after what he's given me with Penguin and the Batman, I'm going to take it. But I don't want to get into the game of, the telephone game. There are people whose job it is to announce this shit. And I'm going to let them do their job. That's it. And if that's what is announced, that's fine. But these guys have had enough sketchy history with me to where they're not worth my time. Unless they're putting out something that is fact. Like when you'll see when we put out an article that says, and it's not according to Variety, or according to Dead, or anything. Those are the words that are my buzzwords to like keep moving. But if it's a fact that's been announced and they're reporting on it, then we'll bring it up on our screen. But until then, I have no reason to speculate on that. The proper people, there are people in place that will announce it. And then we'll go from there. And then once Sebastian Stan says, I'm Two-Face, guess what? The thumbnail is going to look like. Probably not one of them horrible mock-ups that I've seen online. But we'll put a Two-Face. You'll see it. You'll know it. You'll know when I trust the source or I start caring about the source. But right now, factually based, what I have is that Sebastian Stan is signed on to the cast of Batman 2, and so has Scarlett Johansson. That's what I have as fact. I'm not going beyond that yet. But I'm also going on from what Matt Reeves actually said is as far as this is one thing that I'm like really trying to figure out, and this is why I'm gonna wait till he says it. Is he said the villain's gonna be somebody that hasn't been on screen before? So until I don't even want to push my brain even further than that, because if it's not Harvey Dent, if it's not Two-Face, then that's what consistent with what he says. I don't need to think beyond that until I have an announcement from him or from Sebastian Stan. Not some response on when to another question that somebody backdoors another question in, and somebody just says, "Yeah, sure, I think you could." That's not what I need. And I really, if there is an SOP like that when it comes to announcements, James Gunn has been a director. He's been in that. He announces his castings. He's the one who gets on there, on Twitter and do that. So I that would be kind of weird if that was the case. But once again, we're not even in that neighborhood yet. We'll start talking who Sebastian Stan is playing when it is for certain 100% that's who he's saying. Otherwise, like I said, we're just speculating, and sometimes speculation can be fun, but when it's based off of this much non-information, it ends really quick. It's a short fuse for me. So sorry, I just don't want to be that show. Okay, but thank you for the comment. Anana Vendetta. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Hi, Bell, my favorite F-bomb factory.
Yeah.
Rational Skeptic, what's going on? Watching the Bears fan talk shit to Green Bay. They weren't talking idiot, dude. When them clowns are down, because I know a couple of them, they were looking to fire everybody. They were looking to trade off everybody. When it was 21-3, you couldn't find a Bear fan. You had more of a chance of finding an actual bear in your neighborhood than you did a Bear fan until they tied that game up or until they took the lead. And Green Bay fans, you know what they were saying. Those cheeseheads are ready to. They were looking for the coach. They were looking for the OC. They were looking for the DC because textbook of what the hell are you doing? I could see 21-3 first quarter, and then that happens in the second quarter. You come out of the half with the ball. What? Wow. So, I'm in Vegas, and a lot of people's tickets were balled up and thrown on the ground. A lot of cocktails got choked down. But, yeah, the Bears fans were awful silent when it was 21-3. Go look at the online.
Super chat from Rational. Why would Gunn lie? He's the head of the studio.
First of all, I haven't seen
about what.
He's talking the Anon guy, the non-vendetta guy is quoting a Twitter thread. I haven't seen the Twitter thread.
Well, I think you're talking about the Gun Stan thing earlier because that wasn't Twitter. I think he's talking about Blue Sky or
Blue Sky. No, I don't think.
Well, I mean,
it's not Twitter.
So it's social media.
Yeah. Lying is one thing, but that's like I said, you generally don't overstep your because he's not doing the casting for the Batman. Matt Reeves is doing the casting for the Batman. And even if James Gunn knows about it, that's really weird. If you had Denny Villeneuve cast for Dune, Denny Villeneuve was the one who greenlit all those announcements. I mean, even when it was Javier Bardem, all those guys, he's like, welcome to, and James Gunn, you would see James Gunn say, hey, I've signed Sasha, whatever, it'd be awful weird. I'm not saying it didn't happen because I looked, I didn't see it. I couldn't find it. But, generally the director or the star does that, but James Gunn's new at this. But my question, thank you for the $2 super chat. I can't talk tonight.
I actually personally think that now that we've seen, because on this topic specifically, it's like now that he's kind of been in the gig for a fair amount of time and had a few projects released, it's like I think actually Gunn kind of needs to step back from like social media kind of commentary.
I would like to see that, but I don't think it's going to happen. My question to you, Rational, anybody else Rational, is not that why would Gunn lie? Why would he overstep his director, the guy who's doing the casting, and making these announcements on a project that is literally not in the DCU? I can't even see if it was in the DCU, because to be honest with you, whoever's directing Brave and the Bold, I expect to hear who's been casting from them. And then James Gunn jumps in and say, "Oh, welcome to you do all that stuff." But James Gunn's been a director. You're really kind of taking that under away.
That would be good. That would be kind of. Imagine
if they would raise
if they did a gender swapped.
It's broke. Two-Face was never a woman.
I almost kind of hope again. It's like I go back to.
I'm getting off the internet. Internet.
I want to see. It's like I almost hope it's like that. This is like misdirection. Where they're putting at they actually are feeding us bullshit.
I know, and it's something else, yeah.
Well, because they've done gender swaps in comics before. I don't know.
Yeah, but man, I don't, dude. That's gonna be. I'm getting off the internet.
I almost want that to be the case.
I will mute everyone and everything. I don't. I do not want to hear that dude discourse.
Jared, or on Marvel Netflix, they did Jaren Hogarth. I mean, it's not like not nearly as prominent a comic book character as Two-Face with Jaren.
Yeah, you can do it with some certain characters, but certain ones, yeah. I wouldn't care. But yeah, I'm getting off. That would be like old Trek fan times 1,000. I would have to like be like I'm leaving. I'm going to live in a cave. Bang bang Niner gang. Yeah, but they lost Terry Kittle to an ACL injury. Man, they still won this game, but I don't know, dude. That guy's a big part of their offense. And he makes their offense move. I mean, they were still able to get it done with McCaffrey, but their next matchup, that's a tough loss. That full order tequila too while he's in the trainer's room and he's downed a bottle of tequila while he was getting looked at. But yeah, I don't know about the Niners without Kittle. But then again, I'm glad I didn't bet on these games because all these games reflect that the Rams should be eliminated. Pupa Nakua, dude, there was a play where he Stafford threw, which was going to be a clear interception. The other guy got it in his hand, and Puka, he saw it, and he went back and basically became a defensive back and knocked it out of his hands right at the last minute. If he comes down with that ball, that game's over because it's a 4-point lead, and now you got the ball in the 20. So yeah, Puka Nakua, he may have caught some balls and touchdowns, but none of them were as important. They didn't cover either. Fucking the Rams are like 11-point favorites. Bitch asses didn't. I'm glad I didn't bet on that game because I was thinking about going to the window.
Hey, Aaron. Aaron's actually got an interesting one here. A couple interesting ones. First, have you seen this whole conformity gate thing where there's a theory there's a secret Stranger Things episode and did you see the Netflix crash because of that theory? Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
I remember seeing something floating around where people.
Well, Dave was going for it. Junkie was going with it.
He was?
Yeah. Listen, guys, you know how I feel about conspiracies. I don't do them. This is a conspiracy. Why would they do that? When people start building a conspiracy together, the first question, this goes back to JFK Oliver Stone. The first question is why? Why? And if you don't have a good enough answer for the why, then the conspiracy starts to unravel and it's time to scroll down. I've heard about it, and it kind
of seems like a waste of money to film a whole episode.
Yeah. And why would you do that? I mean,
especially with how popular the show is.
Yeah, you're going to get the same amount of people watching no matter what. Because, like I said, season 5 wasn't season 4, but nothing was season 4.
Let me, because I'm kind of in the dark on this. So it's like, so the idea is that is this from like people who didn't like how it ended, or what?
I think it's a collection of people who don't like how it ended, and there were certain things that were missing, and that they heard certain things that were filmed, because they spoilers and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I'm like, no. Where I wish there was I didn't even know where conformity the name came from.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to
conform. What are we conforming to? Here's the thing, though.
It's non-conforming when you're doing conspiracy theories.
I think you spelled conspiracy theory wrong. Here's the thing, though. If this thing were to happen, the one series that I would want it to happen, Game of Thrones season 8. I would love for there to be a conspiracy for that season, because that after episode 3, the Battle of Winterfell, which is one of the greatest episodes of Game of Thrones ever.
It's like there are people just way more knowledgeable about Game of Thrones than I am, and I kind of jumped on to I kind of jumped on at the tail end. I did see the finale with Ashley, and again, only having seen like that portion of it, I could still feel the backlash.
Why don't we name Bran the king? I'm like, and I had 82 people at the Sci-Fi Center because we watch that show. We stream all Game of Thrones and we do them live as it happens. And the gasp of fucking disgust was like, we all looked at each other like, what? And it was just bad. Like I said, so if you wanted to have a hidden episode, or by the way, anybody who's not watching a Spartacus, House of Asher, it's a really good show. It is. I'm loving that show. But the way they bought him, listen, for those of you who watch Spartacus, Blood and Sand, and all the ones, all the way that led up to this, it's not a spoiler that Asher was killed. The last episode, he was killed. He was beheaded. There was no doubt about it. So the premise of this show is that he's in Hades, and Lucy Lawless character's down there with the dead baby. And they said, we're going to give you another chance to make different decisions, and they bring him back to life. So I would love for something like that to happen with Game of Thrones season 8, because every time I think about that season, it really hurts my perception of the show until I have to remember how good that show was. But yeah, the whole conformity thing, I look at it and I'm like, nah, whatever. All right, let's see.
Oh, now another one here from Aaron. Supposedly the president posted on his Truth Social opposing the Netflix war. I did see something about this floating around.
He goes back and forth though. The last week he was opposing. He had it in for the Ellersons because of the 60-minute interview.
Well, they were trying to butter him up with the whole thing about Rush Hour 4 to like make things. But and also, I mean, it's like again, it's also obviously mergers of the scale. They have to get they go through the antitrust stuff. That has to get approved by the government. But the president doesn't single-handedly approve these things.
No,
the president can be adamantly opposed to it, and it can still go through.
Yeah, and he just and Trump flips one way depending on who talks to him last. That's why I don't pay attention to him at all, and it has nothing to do with political leaning. He has no consistent thought pattern to really hang on to. By the time I hear about a post, he's made another one that's completely going a different direction. So I think it's good for my blood pressure, to be honest with you, just to ignore the fact that he exists sometimes, because it's nothing consistent, it's nothing normal. So just all right, let's see. Oh,
by the way, real quick thing, as I brought Aaron's comments up, I had something kind of interesting happen on a couple days ago. It was related to Tubi. Aaron, you saw this, so go read the comment. I'll bring it up in a minute.
William, are there heavy metal bands that you would do a second game-changing album to help them prepare their careers to a second part from the 80s to the 90s? No, because all the ones that needed to do that did that. All the heavy metal bands that were in the 80s made significantly successful albums well into the 90s. Metallica, with their biggest selling album, was in the 90s. Megadeth, believe it or not, most of Megadeth's success came in the 90s. I mean, they had some good albums in the 80s, but they broke through Countdown to I mean, so I think all the heavy metal bands that I was listening to made significant albums into the 90s. So no, Anthony, I think they covered their bases when they had the chance.
By the way, going back to the merger real quick. So, I mean, I think because I'm sure you saw Paramount put up like another one that was rejected. At this point, it's like, it's like they need to take a hint. It's like, it's not happening with Paramount.
Then they made another threat. about the regulation.
This is getting crazy. It's what I said, though, a little bit ago, where I talked about, like, I am truly convinced from all of this that this is the first time in his life that David Ellison has been told no on anything.
This is funny. Netflix is coming out with a Peace Prize, and someone will win to help grease the palms. You know what? You say that in comedy, but we're living in a world where that is not out of bounds at this time.
What I find interesting, even though the Paramount, it's quite clear to everyone except for David Ellison, apparently, that the Paramount is not going to be the new owners of Warner Brothers. Apparently, Rush Hour 4 is still moving forward.
Wow.
I'm gonna Google that real quick, just so I can pull that up. But I saw that floating around. Like, again, the whole thing was so clearly just a bargaining chip, and it's like, now that bargaining chip has lost its value, did they just say, well, I mean, we might as well go ahead with this anyway? So.
All right, Primate is. Woo.
Let me look that up real quick.
It's a cheap movie at 24 million. It made 13 million, so it's kind of in the losing game right now. But I think it'll creep. I think this movie will break even.
It'll be fine. It's going to be in the black. If not for a few years, it's going to
Yeah,
I finally got that right. I always said I can never remember, like, in the black.
Trust me, I've had it. Yeah,
in the red, you're bleeding as in losing money. So
All right, hold on. So I'm looking at I'm looking for a streaming date for Primate, because I think that'll be there pretty soon. But yeah, that's where it's at. It made 13 million for anybody that was asking that one. 13.4 million. Not a bad weekend but it's a low budget movie, so it'll creep. It'll be fine.
It's first weekend of January too. I mean, it's like stuff doesn't. I mean, Avatar is still going strong. Shit doesn't break out, like crazy. The first, I mean, January, it's notoriously a dead zone. theatrically. But that's also why they put out horror movies in January, because they can make them cheap and get good returns on that. So it's really like horror is really like the main thing that kind of thrives in January. Like everything else is just it's just there. Okay. Yeah, so apparently Rush Hour 4 is still going to be moving ahead. And they want it's going to be filming in like China, Africa, and Saudi Arabia.
China.
So again, take yeah.
This is gonna be filming. They're gonna let them film in China.
I mean, Jackie owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you mean like a China like place, or are we actually doing China?
Well, again, take it with a grain of salt. Like this is definitely one where it's like I have a set photos or I don't believe it kind of mindset.
Yeah, again, I did same here. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, a movie that who knows if it's going to happen, Blade. I don't believe any of the rumors I'm hearing, by the way, but
that's canceled.
Yeah, I don't.
Rumor that it's canceled if they can't make.
This is why we don't do the rumor thing. But then they're saying it's going to be a Midnight Suns movie. Nobody's going to that movie.
Well, I can see that. I can see like the general idea of like, because this was suggested when it was like removed from their slate. It's like they're not gonna do a Blade solo movie anymore, but they're going to integrate him into an ensemble.
Yeah, it's called Doomsday or Secret Wars. The Midnight Suns. Listen, I think Disney's done. Huh? I think Disney's done throwing money away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see. With the hurdles this has had, I mean, it just is further confirmation. There's only one Blade. There's only going to be one Blade.
No, I think you're going to see Blade, but it's going to be. They should have never announced a solo movie for Blade. Well, I think that's the biggest mistake. They should have never announced.
I mean, this is where Gunn. I do give it some. I mean, jury's still out on like the how he stringently is going to adhere to this, or how like the execution of this is going to pan out long term. But I mean, he's been quite adamant. Like, I'm not at DC Studios. We're not making a movie unless we have a script locked.
Yeah.
So, okay, but yeah, let me go back to my thing I was mentioning earlier. That was cool that happened with me. Maybe they do, Aaron. I don't know, because so I posted this on Twitter and all my socials a couple days ago, or and I'm gonna start this with a question. Does anybody remember the series or kind of familiar with the franchise Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Mm-hmm. Jack Palance.
Yeah, well, and they had it's when I was a kid, they did a modern version of it on a TBS.
That's not it. That's not it. What we're looking at, right?
No, it's not. It's a GIF I chose to illustrate it. So I watched that. I love that. I love the TBS. It was the one that was hosted by Dean Cain, and I love that. I loved watching it because it was so. The whole concept behind Ripley's is to find extraordinary, again, beyond belief kind of stories that and a lot of it's around people who seem to have like abilities beyond belief, or and for someone like me and someone like Aaron, I mean, they actually did a pretty fair amount of martial arts related stuff on there. So I watched that show. I love that show. They ran for that iteration of Ripley's ran for 4 seasons on TBS, and then I was just, but to my knowledge, it's never been like put on DVD or like on digital download anywhere. But so I would look at her for a while, and outside like the odd clip here and there on YouTube, hadn't found it. And then I come across all 4 seasons of it on Tubi.
Only 4 seasons? I thought that shit was longer.
Yeah. Well, like again, like that's just like the early 2000s one iteration that was from like 1999 to 2003. So I came across that on Tubi, all 4 seasons, and it's like I've been having fun with that since then. But so I posted this out there saying it's like I came across that, and obviously feel like I found hidden treasure. And look who responds to me.
Hey, Nana Vendetta, I don't have any message. I don't have any. Are you? Why did they put you there? Are you Scoops? Is that you? Hold on, let me look at this.
But anyway, so Tubi, the official Tubi page replied, and I didn't even tag them. That's like, I found I don't know, whatever intern is running that. Just dove on that, and so my inner child did a backflip. So I had fun with that, and I said, okay, go watch Ripley's on Tubi. It's pretty awesome free streaming platform, and you will be amazed what you will find on there. I mean, you'll find like little indie hidden gems to like big blockbusters on there. I mean, Tubi's on the come up.
Tubi's fun.
Tubi's,
I can't
Tubi's
find
really,
this message.
and they're,
I'm sorry, I'm
they're
talking to myself.
Oh, sorry. And they're starting to produce their own movies and shows now. They're climbing up there in terms of the in the streaming games. So now you can subscribe and like get more out of it, but if it's again,
you can get the ads, but the ads make it work. The ads are making it work.
But it's like it gets, otherwise it's like it's free streaming platform with all kinds of awesome stuff on there, including Ripley's Believe It or Not. So I had a little fun, exchange with Tubi on the Twitter here about that. So, hey, I thought I'd share that with you guys. Okay. I DM'd it to Aaron right away, where it's like, "Oh, Aaron, you got to see this." But yeah, there were so many like great. There, to give you kind of like some of my favorite highlights. There was one that really stayed with me. It was one of the things that obviously, as a martial arts aficionado, like really planted seed in my brain. It was a demo where this one school, and I now understand this. Now this is like, when I saw this, like, oh, this is this seems so different, but now being more knowledgeable, like, oh yeah, this is hard, called hard qigong. It's like stuff that like Shaolin monks that can do after like 10, 15 years of training, where this one school students are taught to like just take like crazy hits and just be able to just shake it off and endure. And they did have a little segment on that, and there that was one of my favorite ones. But yeah, Aaron, I'm sure you're familiar with that hard qigong. That
sounds like something painful.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it involves people. Look it up, and I mean, it's like I mean, people train in long enough. I mean, they start putting like spears in their throat, or are able to.
All right, fucking time out. See, you didn't fuck my show.
Okay.
What's gonna happen?
Here's another good one. Yeah, no, I can go off on qigong. I've done qigong. I want to get back into it actually. Pretty soon here, but yes, that's one segment I really loved. And there was another one in the same episode. Like, William, are you familiar with Troy Hurtubise?
No.
He's this inventor in Canada. He was attacked by a grizzly bear when he was like a teenager, and he wanted to like study, get more kind of information about bear behavior. So he constructed and he made a suit, designed to withstand bear attacks. And they had a segment where they I'm kid you not, they testing out like the strength of the suit. He went through so many tests. Look him up. Look up Troy Hurtubise.
Yeah, sure.
And there was one, and the segment, like they hoist this car back, swing it into him, into the suit, and slam him into a brick wall with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ripley's Believe It or Not, awesome show. Oh, Aaron says, yeah, they'll train to brush off getting hit in the ball. So, yep. Qigong. There you go.
I got your. I don't know why I put your message with the solicitors and the whatever, but I responded to your message that was you.
That's the other thing out here for you guys. It's ironic day they announced that movie almost 10 years ago and still not made the people. Are you talking about Blade? Well, it's been 10 years. It's been close. It's almost 7.
Well, you know what? That was a mistake. That was a mistake to announce that movie when they did. I've said this before and over again. There's 2 ways I think that character should be bought. The new generation of that character be bought, either through a Doctor Strange movie, that's where he really should come through, or through a collaboration. And if you want to bring back Wesley Snipes, he'll take the paycheck. Trust me.
He clearly is ready to go back to Blade.
So one last time, as you kill him off, you introduce Mahershala Ali in that movie. I think that's the best way to do it. Well, if there wasn't a Doctor Strange movie imminent, I would do it in Doctor Strange, but I would not do a solo Blade movie.
And here's how I've suggested it, and I even wrote a feature on it for Fortress. Okay, it's like, guys, there is literally no counter argument to this.
I'm reaching for the horn right now.
Building full of vampires. Blade walks in, chops them up. There is literally no counter argument. There
It
is
sounds like some
way. Okay, walks in, building full of
video,
vampires,
straight to
slices and
video.
dices, walks out.
Howard the Duck.
Fury says
What we're
multiverse
talking
threat.
about right now. We're
Fury
not-
says multiverse threat. We need your help, and that's the end credit scene. The raid with Blade. Watch that $100 million opening weekend.
I
There
think you should be allowed.
There is literally no counter argument to this.
If you were to put this
Literally
forth,
no
you know what? The one
counter-argument.
thing about you putting this nonsense forth and submitting it is that they would never take anything from you again. I would be safe from this horrible story.
There
that you just had to come up
is
with.
literally no
I-
counter argument to this.
Let's get back to
Literally.
being serious. So that's a joke.
Yeah.
I don't know
10 years it's been
why they announced Blade in this. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know why they put him at the end of Eternals. I don't know why. If you were going to ever bring Blade through it, like I said, it should have been, when we get back to Doctor Strange, if there's another, I would have done it then.
Well,
then
they got to worry about paying off the third eye. The credit scene.
They can do that. They can do that. In fact, I think that's going to be a part of. Doesn't matter. I mean, you think Marvel fans are going to be like, "Oh, you kept me waiting for so long," but that he works as a support character in the MCU, and then you go with on a solo movie after you've established some other character. But when I first heard that announcement, I'm like, okay, that didn't move the needle for me. You got a good actor, so I was like, okay, whatever whatever happens, I'm either going to see it or I'm not going to see it. And as time went on, I like I've always said, I think that as management changed, as priority changed, this was not a priority.
This
was not a top priority.
2019. Yeah. So it's been almost 7 years. Now I will
7 years in July.
One thing I always say is, like, again, we ran into something a few months after this. So anything that was in development, kind of in that early in that time frame of like 2019, 2020, it's like I think it's fair to comp them a year. Anybody like at any studio who's developing something during that time frame, comp them a year delay. That's what I say.
I think this just came out once they changed their minds about it and said, no, we're not doing this right now, but you will see the characters. It would have been an easy announcement to make. People would have understood.
Building sword.
William, I understand why they did it because of prestige. Well, that's the only reason why I even think they even entertained. Because to be honest with you, and that's the two things about Blade that are true. I don't think this project happens if Mahershala Ali doesn't come to them with it. I don't even think it's even thought of. And even him in his 2 Academy Awards, because he's won another one since this was announced.
What did he win that for?
He's won from Green Book and he has two. Why can't I remember it?
Once you get one, that's it's enough prestige.
Yeah.
Itself
So, but it's been so long that because 2018 is when he won for.
I wonder what he thought of Wesley's return. I wonder if he was like sitting in the audience, like, oh shit, like
just the same reason why anybody else. No, I don't. No, it would made no sense for him to be in that movie. Yeah. It would have made no sense for him to be.
I agree because it's supposed to be like a multiverse,
Yeah, nostalgia bait.
Well, I'm not saying on the level like he's replacing you. I'm saying on the level like in the time it took for my Blade movie to not get made and show no sign of progress. Wesley got this.
Well, he knows why his movie's not getting made. I'm pretty sure they've told him that his movie why.
Well, they didn't tell him that on Comic-Con stage.
No, but that's after that was 2019. We're talking about now. They should have never announced it at Comic-Con, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying Mahershala Ali shouldn't be Blade, but I think he needs to be brought through the right way, and I think it'll be a stronger foundation for him. And then you put him out there. But how long have I been telling you that this movie is getting closer and closer to not happening? But doesn't mean you're not going to get him as Blade. You'll get him as Blade, but it just won't be in a solo movie. Priority shifted, and it was no longer a priority. I don't see why people can't understand why they can't comprehend that, that the MCU shifted their priorities in a lot of different ways. That happens all the time. There's no conspiracy not to make this movie. It just doesn't fit right now, and that's an easy answer to, even my thick skull can get that.
Building.
Sword. I don't. Whatever, dude. That's one of the dumbest premises I've ever heard.
There is literally no Counter argument.
So, but yeah, when you think of the two Blade movies, the one reason, in my opinion, that the Mahershala Ali project even got as far as it did, which is nowhere, was because you had his prestige as Academy Award winner.
They did have some.
They never went into pre-production.
They gave like the.
They were
Sinners.
6 weeks away. Yeah, they were 6 weeks away from. That's what really told me that this wasn't happening.
But it's not to say. I mean, they didn't get it started, but that's not to say they weren't like working on getting it started.
Okay, it never went into pre-production as far as cameras rolling, so it never happened.
Like they had. That's why they donated like the Sinners.
Yeah, because they got it.
They said because that for those of you who don't know, like that iteration of Blade was going to be set in the 20s or the 30s, and when that didn't end going forward, they saw Ryan Coogler, he's making a vampire movie in that time frame, and said, okay, well, we got sets we're not using, you want to use them, go for it.
But it's a road to nowhere. It's a dead end, and the only reason why it got as far as it did, which is nowhere, is because Mahershala Ali's stature as a top tier actor came to them with it. And I always say, when somebody comes to you with the trophies, somebody comes to you with the trophies, you give them the time of day. You give them that respect of hearing them out and moving it some inches. Same thing with Blade in the 1990s. There's only like 3 or 4 actors that if they came to a production studio and said, I want to do Blade, that they even get their calls answered. And Wesley Snipes in the 90s was one of those guys. Anyone else, if it wasn't for the fact that he was on a banger throughout that entire decade, that movie doesn't get made. Wesley Snipes willed that movie into existence in the same way that Mahershala Ali willed this to wherever you think it is. I still think his work will pay off because you will see him as Blade.
Well, I think you're
going to see him soon.
I think that would be like actually probably the biggest curveball they could throw in Doomsday or Secret Wars. Is
even curveball I expected at this point.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people I think at this point are kind of writing off, Blade, who a non-Wesley Blade at this point.
That would be foolish. That would be foolish because I think Wesley Snipes will be in. No, I don't have any official anything like that, but I think Wesley Snipes will be there, and that will be the last appearance of that Blade.
No. What I'm saying is, like, I think people like, especially after Deadpool and Wolverine, a lot of people are at this point kind of resigned to we're never going to see Mahershala Ali's Blade. If we see Blade again, it'll be West. That's the mind. That's the mindset.
That's a foolish mindset.
Well, I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying.
I'm talking to the general public. If you believe that, then you believe anything. I need to find out who some of these people are so I can sell them some shit while they're still kind of foggy. But no, I still think you will see him, and I think it's going to be under wraps. By the way, you're not going to hear a lot about Mahershala Ali at all until you see him, and when you see him
with Doomsday and Secret Wars, because you've said it's like again, barring like physical impairments that would preclude them from returning. It's like you're saying, like you wouldn't like take anybody at face value. They'd say
everybody, yeah.
But that also raises the question, like who can be when your door is that open, like who can be the surprise return? If the possibilities are that vast, like who can be like the one that's the wild card who's not expected?
Well, his character is not that level to where that would be like oh my god. It would be like it would be a cool moment, but it wouldn't be like if you see Halle Berry coming back as Storm or Femke Janssen,
she will.
She will. Like I see, none of all these people are going to be there. Anybody who says, "Oh, I haven't been in contact," okay, sure.
Oh, Famke Janssen said that they haven't even like her thing, the way how she put it. She said they haven't even contacted her about like offering her, which is like I interpreted that as like this is Andrew Garfield born No Way Home again. So. Sure,
look forward to seeing you in the movie. That's how I feel about it, and I think that's the fun in these next two movies is that you get. I know there's been several goodbyes to certain X-Men over and over again, but I think those goodbyes weren't the lead in to what we're about to get.
Did you see that one meme circular on Twitter? It was the architect in Matrix Reloaded. It said, "This is the 6th time we said goodbye to Fox X-Men, and we've become exceedingly efficient at it."
This one though is different because of what it means. This goodbye transcends to a brand new hello. So I think this is. I'm looking forward to this because, like I said, you always get the opportunity to say goodbye, to proper goodbye. You get a goodbye, but this is this is and like that. These are variant characters. So you're saying you said goodbye to those other characters. These are
You're
variants
also saying
anyway.
goodbye to their portrayers.
Yeah, the portrayer, like if you were into Marsden as Cyclops, which I'm like, okay, he was there, but he never really grabbed me as anything. Because Cyclops, in all fairness, bias, Cyclops as a comic book character, X-Man, X-Factor, X-Force, never really moved the needle for me in general ever. So I mean, whoever played him was going to be at a disadvantage in my opinion, but that's fine. I know people love him, but that Cyclops that you saw in that trailer is not the Cyclops from those movies. That's a variant. So, but it's still good. It's not going to matter to the moviegoer because that's him. That's him. So it's going to be a fun movie. I think this might be the best of this series.
Of Avengers?
I think I think these next two, given the premise and given the groundwork that they built up with Deadpool and Wolverine, with Loki's seasons 1 and 2, that and then in some cases, Spider-Man: No Way Home. This is building. This has been building to something really special.
Yeah, but again, that's the problem. Also, is that it's just impossible to replicate the whole of open.
They're going to try. They're going to try.
They're going to try. They're going to fail.
I don't know, man. I think that seeing Tobey Maguire, that was special. You know, get me wrong. It's one of the most special moments in my comic book watching anything. It can be outdone.
No. I'm not. Okay. Because I think we're having two hour conversation.
We had this conversation before too.
I'm talking about not replicating the.
Oh, you're talking about the lying. The lying.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right. We had this before. Yeah, the lying.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now nobody's gonna believe him though. There's no
exactly.
way. You tell me. Yeah. If you, like I said, I believe that. Yeah, and I'm not going to hold it
not
against
even
you.
Fool me once. It's try to fool me once and fail spectacularly.
Not gonna hold it against you for lying to me because you have to. It's your job.
Well, yeah, that's what No Way Home is that
kind of fun.
Andrew was like, he was bullshitting us. We all knew he was bullshitting us. He knew that we knew he was bullshitting us, and that didn't.
And they didn't. Sony really didn't try to hide that. Sony made sure that we saw shit. So yeah. Blade is the man. Hit it up. No, it's not even a hate. It's just listen. Liking a character and wanting them to be introduced into a cinematic universe is fine, but you really have to do it in a manner that just doesn't. You don't want something like that to crash and burn. You're talking about a support character that exists really well with the Doctor. He literally, for the majority of the early Blade stuff, he didn't even have his own series. He was in Tomb of Dracula, and he was in Doctor Strange before he even had his own book. So he literally is a Doctor Strange support character. So yes, can he get his own movie? Sure. But I think that they want to get to this next phase where they consolidate everything else, and their new MCU now has their new Black Panther, their new mutants, their new. I think that's where they want to get him in, because right now, as we get closer to the breach that is Secret Wars and Doomsday, and we consolidate down to the Sacred Timeline, it makes no sense to do a Blade movie right now, because anything he's going to do, and that's probably why they got rid of the period piece, is going to take place post Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars. It makes no sense. Now, introducing him now, yeah, let's get people out there. Let's see him like that. But don't do his solo movies until we have the Sacred Timeline. It doesn't make any sense. So you probably got another 2 years before you get anything. But I still think that I would be surprised if you didn't see Mahershala Ali in one of those two movies. Be surprised. Because I don't have any inside information, but that's a perfect, unless you're going to do a Doctor Strange movie. Now, if I hear the announcement of a Doctor Strange 3, then that's the one he's going to be in. That's the one because that's the one that makes the most sense. Okay, William, wasn't Blade introduced?
He was introduced in Tomb of Dracula, wasn't he?
Tomb of Dracula number 10. Tomb of Dracula number 10. I actually have that issue.
And he kind of go back to the No Way Home comparison. That's the other thing too, is the again, the half-hearted efforts to kind of cover up Toby and Andrew's presence. I mean, everybody's talked
half. How about a quarter heart?
But everybody's talked about the part of the trailer, like all the villains are like this whole wall of villains, and he's flying in the middle, and they're
it's
like
a big gap.
There's down here, just he's like getting. I had a coworker when I was at Screen Rant. We were having fun with that, and we said, "Oh yeah, but Toby and Andrew totally aren't in this." And she said, "Oh yeah, like the lizard, that part right there, he just got
He
hit by
got punched. Remember, he got punched and his head just goes this way,
yeah,
and everybody's like,
yeah.
nobody
Like,
bought that bullshit.
she said he got hit by a very strong mosquito. So it's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was a joke. Blade Wright should have never gone back to Marvel. That was the downfall. Well, how is it the downfall of it? I don't understand that, Azteca. I didn't want X-Men to be under Disney. I did. And that's not to say I didn't love the Fox stuff, but the Fox stuff has run its course. I'm ready to see with Kevin Feige and company and whoever is working on it, because we got the writer and everything else. And I'm ready. Listen, I can love one thing and be ready to move on from it too. And now here we are, Ghost Rider and Blade. Well, Ghost Rider, that Nicolas Cage willed that shit into existence. And Blade. No, listen, there's a difference between something just not happening and something happening at the right time. None of the shit that you put on this list is stuff that's not going to happen. Ghost Rider, maybe. But as far as X-Men, we're going to get the X-Men. And you might get a Blade, but it just didn't make any sense. You got to realize that when you're trying to put all this together, it has to fit. You don't want some sloppy shit forced in just because a group of fans are like, when are we going to get it? That can't be part of your thinking. When you're putting together this puzzle, this beautiful collection of things that are going to, be interdependent on each other, that's your first priority, is making sure the story is right. We should not see Blade until it's the right time in the MCU story to see them. We should not see any of these characters until it is the right time. We're not doing the Fox universe anymore. We're saying goodbye to the Fox universe. So referencing the Fox universe versus what we're doing here, the Blade that you see is going to have nothing to do with the Blade that you saw in the late 90s, early 2000s. The X-Men, all these characters, for the most part, they're not. All the Fox stuff is going away. It's being consolidated. So when you're doing this, I shouldn't see Blade until Feige's ready for him to be there. Period. Or whoever's directing it until that goes for any MCU character. And by the way, that goes for any comic book. If you're writing a continuous story and this player doesn't fit there yet, then you don't do it. You put them in and you introduce them, you integrate them when it's the right time for the story. And that's I feel it's the same thing's gonna be with Blade.
Can I pull up like a quick snippet from the No Way Home trailer without it getting pulled down?
No.
Okay, well, I was just gonna pull up the part, again with the villains where it's like the lizard getting punched by some invisible.
Oh well, you probably pulled up. Yeah, the trailer. Yeah, we've played that trailer before. You can pull it up.
I mean, the movie's been out for a couple of years now, so let me see if I can get to that one point.
Bring it up because Batman folks were crying because of the delay. Listen, I mean, it sucks not to get things when you want them, but movie making is not easy. It's not like me, making Top Ramen or a Hot Pocket. It's really difficult. There's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes those pieces run up against each other. I would like all the stuff I'm waiting for, lanterns, sooner than later. But I get them when I get them.
Do you have a date on that yet, or is it just after Supergirl is kind of what they're saying? Okay, yeah.
That one doesn't have anything to do with the other. It wasn't a prioritize. It was where does Blade fit into their cinematic story, because Blade is not a TV show. Moon Knight was. So where does Blade fit into
that went nowhere?
Yeah, and I think they're saying you're gonna get some more Moon Knight. You will see Moon Knight. And the what's the other one? The that one shot that they did with the Man Thing. They're saying you'll probably get more of that. But yeah, it's a matter of where does it fit? Where does it fit in what you're doing? And I think a lot of times fans think about what they want, and they don't necessarily think about the considerations and the priorities of the people actually making it. That's the difference between a fan and people who make movies,
Yeah, here it is. So let me at least give that just a little bit. Oh yeah, I hear this shot too of like him like swooping down, like
because they're all there.
Yeah, and again, look at the stack of villains here. Like he's right in the middle. He's
watch the lizard's head.
Yeah, let me play a little more. Oh, didn't show it there. Okay.
No, keep going.
Now we're past that part.
Okay. Well, they've added it to the trailer.
Okay. Yeah, but look who was Lizard jumping to? If Toby and Andrew are on this,
he's not lined up.
Who's Electro jumping towards? And it's like, and they put this out there and told us they're not in the movie. It's like, okay, yeah. Open secret. Clearly, don't see it.
I don't think I never believed it, and I don't think it was meant to be believed, but it was hilarious.
Yes, did you ever, like in the Sci-Fi Center, like in the time frame, like leading up to No Way Home, did you ever encounter one person who ever say, "I'm
No.
taking them at their word on this"?
No. We would say it out loud, and then we would all laugh at each other. William, why did they prioritize Moon Knight and She-Hulk, Runaway, Cloak and Dagger over Blade Runners? Okay, none of those are cinematic. Not one of those are cinematic. Blade was meant to be a cinematic piece to fit into the hierarchy of the story that they were telling at the time. They changed their priority. Moon Knight was a TV show. She-Hulk was a TV show. Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, those were all. Cloak and Dagger wasn't even.
They're actually wrong. Weren't even very good TV shows.
Moon Knight, I love Moon Knight. Runaways, I didn't even get halfway through. She-Hulk was just not funny. And Cloak and Dagger was something that was different on a different network that was on. I forgot that was on, but none of those were TV. None of those were cinematic. Yeah, it was some other network. But yeah, you're talking about introducing Mahershala Ali as Blade into the cinematic state. That's why he appeared in Eternals. That was meant to go somewhere, but they changed their mind. They decided that that's not how they wanted to bring him in. So not an apples to apples comparison, Rational. Now if those characters, if She-Hulk would have got a movie before Blade, if Moon Knight would have got a movie before Blade, you probably have a stronger argument. But the way they were handling the TV business at that point in time was different than the way they were handling the cinematic, even if sometimes they did merge. Let's see, William, for me, a character like Blade should have been introduced in Secret Wars. You might end up having that as the case. I personally, with no inside whatever, think he's going to be introduced in Secret Wars or Doomsday, and I think Wesley Snipes is in this movie. And I think Wesley Snipes going to get killed, like he did in the last movie that he was in, because that's a trap. He died. You realize he died in that last movie when they bought them time. Yeah, they bought them time to get through that breach. They're all those people are dead.
Well, no, but then they did TVA like reset the timeline, so they're
no, they don't exist. They never existed. Remember, because they were variants. They were in that limbo area, and when that limbo area got eaten up, and Cassandra came over, they stayed. They stayed. And remember,
yeah, the last like X-23 was like still around, so it's like
they got eaten up by that thing, or they got pruned, because when they at the end of Loki. Or at the end of the thing, remember those variants. The only reason why they were alive is because they went into that they were in that void. Once the TVA is going to prune all of them. So when you see X-23 again, you're going to be seeing a completely one from another universe, and vice versa. Same thing with probably Wolverine. And that Cyclops ain't the Cyclops that's from the movies that we've seen. As far as like the actual character, it's James Marsden, but it's not. You know what I mean?
That's something I was kind of thinking about too. Is like how they're going to link this up with X-Men. Is it maybe like and actually maybe also how they're like Spider-Man, because you think about like Days of Future Past like ends with them resetting the timeline, and then with No Way Home they reset two different timelines because the villains are pulled into the MCU right before they're killed in the Raimi and the Amazing Spider-Man universes, and then they send them back. They depower them so they can send them back so they don't die. So they've rewritten history. So like what they've done, that combination of like factors.
What you said creates a variance, and I think somehow, some way, Doctor Doom is going to see that, and he's going to try to take advantage of that. And then I think Loki's going to be in there to the point where he is going to try to usurp that power. But and Captain America going back in time to get a booty call, that's a variant. Because everything that he created, the MCU that we currently exist in now, should not exist. And that's where I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. I think Captain America, he's going to be one of the focal points of, you went back and created, all of you guys did, because that time travel bullshit that they gave you in Endgame doesn't make any sense.
Like, if you go back, then the future is the past now, and like
I think Doom's going to be, that ain't the way it works, and something has happened to him, and I can't wait to figure out why he's like he is. I have no clue, but I think it has something to do with the world that he lost that he's trying to regain.
Do you think there's as far as like the collection of characters, because because one thing I kind of think about is like Hawkeye wasn't in Infinity War, but he was in Endgame. Do you think they might like they have like, because there's only so many people you can put in one movie at one time too. So do you think
they're gonna try? You're gonna find out how many
yeah, these are gonna be long movies, I'm sure. These are gonna be like
some 3-hour and 40-minute movies.
But so do you think there's anybody who might like only appear in either Doomsday or Secret Wars?
Yeah, I think half of them. I think half of them are gonna get wiped out. I think you're gonna have. This is just a guess, by the way, guys. Don't take me. I think you're going to have a scene that is like a Infinity War scene where they all got vanished and all that. Yeah, but I think you're going to have a scene like that where Doom starts to prune or consolidate or absorb the power of these universes, and these people are trying to stop him. And I think half of the people that are in this movie are going to disappear. They won't die necessarily, but they'll disappear. It'll be like Crisis when the world started collapsing. Those people didn't die, but they ceased to exist. I think that's what's going to happen to a lot of the people, and I think some of these carryover characters are going to meet their future. I actually think you're going to see some of the new MCU characters in these two movies. I until I see otherwise, till I sit down with my popcorn bucket and see the movie, and I don't see Mahershala Ali in that movie, and I don't see Wesley Snipes in that movie, I believe that they are going to be in that movie, and they're fighting side by side, and Wesley Snipes gets wiped out or killed. And Mahershala Ali, along with other characters, are going to be what's left in the sacred timeline, because Wesley Snipes' character should disappear because he's a variant, and it'll be established that Mahershala Ali was always the Blade, because that's the way that time works. I also think that you may see a new Wolverine, because you can do that without introducing the X-Men, because Wolverine exists outside of the X-Men for 150 years.
Technically, we already have a non-Hugh Jackman Wolverine. I don't think it's gonna be Cavill. I don't think it's gonna be Cavill.
No, it's not gonna be Cavill, but it'll be somebody down the line. And like I said, that would be a surprise. I think that, but I think all those things are on the table. It's gonna be a fun movie. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I wish they had kept the original date, but I understand.
Oh, is it gonna be out in the summer originally?
It was gonna be out in summer, and then they moved it. They moved both movies from summer to December, which is fine. Well, and Brad, is there a way logically Marvel could explain the vampires stayed hidden? Yeah, they stayed hidden. Well, vampires.
They only go out at night, and yeah.
Well, if you like Vampires the Masquerade, basically what vampires would be is a secret society that you wouldn't know the existence of unless you came into supernatural encounters with them or you were a victim of them. Vampires, in my opinion, could stay secret for centuries. It's kind of like the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls goes back, almost a century and a half. Nobody ever saw them in any of the other stuff until they made their first appearance, right? So Scott Snyder brought them in, right? Yet these characters existed throughout history. They got descendants that are in their groups. So you could have a secret society that, and if you're a vampire, by the way, your survival may depend on you staying secret. Because if somebody finds out what you are, you're an abomination. They're going to hunt you down. So I could see, just based on that, Anthony, that would be, they don't really have to explain it. They could just retcon them in if they wanted to. They could say certain people have always been around, and because in certain comic books, vampires, like in a certain Blade comic, vampires could walk during the day. They just don't have the power that they have as a vampire, and they're weakened. But there are vampires that can walk around in the day and they won't blow up in the flames. And even if you read the original Dracula novel, even in the movie, if you look at Bram Stoker's Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola, Dracula is clearly walking around in the day when he's got that top hat and crazy hippie glasses on, but he does not have the height of his powers in the night, and he's weak and he can be killed in that state. So you could there's a lot of ways to do it, Anthony. And then Wanda, remember, a lot of people have forgotten about that crazy woman. She's out there somewhere. And with the nature of her powers, I think she's going to be one of the reasons why all this is happening. Because remember, she fucked up a lot of things too with variants. And the Doctor Strange 3 movie could lead right. I wonder when that's happening, because I wasn't the biggest fan of Multiverse of Madness. But you know what? If the premise of Doctor Strange 3 is what I think it should be, I'm down for it. Let's see. Neymar is definitely back after sequel. Oh yeah, he's probably gonna be trying to bang Sue Richards like he's been doing for 40 years. By the way, don't mind the husband there. Reed is going through a spell right now. Okay, so we're gonna grab Neymar's ass. I got you. It was always funny the way they did that. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. They went from happily married, and yeah, Reed's an asshole, but damn, how many covers I have where Neymar is, belly to belly with Sue Richards, man. Well, when you say Disney Marvel, we're not talking about necessarily Disney Marvel, even though that's what it is. It's the proper term is Marvel Studios, because Disney hasn't really. Kevin Feige runs these movies. Kevin Feige, that the only time that Kevin Feige really didn't really have that control is when Chapek was in charge. Chapek's gone, and whoever comes in is going to be what Bob Iger is. So we're not talking like Disneyfication and things, because these movies have not befell that fate. So I don't. I never really considered Deadpool as part of the X-Men, because even that Colossus that's in there is different. I mean, so I've always considered Deadpool its own thing, and that's why it worked. Okay, what do we got here? Talking video games. Let's skip all that. Let's see. With the popularity of Cloak and Dagger in Marvel Rivals, they could capitalize it. They could. You might see one coming in, but I one of the things about us going forward with all this is there can be no carryover. I don't believe that you can create a cohesive new Marvel Cinematic Universe with carrying things over from Fox and Sony and things like that. I think the whole point of this operation is to give you a new MCU, because you're never going to get it'll be another 20 years before you have a chance. You're basically resetting your universe within the same narrative that you started with. And I think that now that they own it all, I think this is going to be, you're going to see their versions of it. And you know what? I've been waiting for that. I've seen 26 years of the Fox X-Men. I loved it for the most part. But now I'm ready to see. I've been watching this MCU thing for nearly 17 years. I'm ready to see what we're going to do there. You know what I mean? Let's see. Who else we got? Green Bay. You're talking. Do Dr. Doom, Dan Man, do Dr. Doom and Reed normally know each other growing up, or is that usually a triangle with Sue, Reed, and depending on what interpretation is? Hickman, there's been different interpretations, and now after Secret War 2015, I think they retconned it because they have a daughter that he raised too. So yeah, I'm so peeved that Wicked for Good. I didn't even pay attention. I saw it just on my phone when I got buzzed in, because it says, so and so is one of the, where I need to turn that off. But I have made it 15 or 16 minutes in the one battle after another, and I'm struggling to go back to it. And that movie looks like it's going to win a lot of shit. I'm like, I'm not invited to this party. And so rather than come to somebody's party that I'm not invited to and make a bunch of noise and knock over the cheese dip, I'm going to go to a different party. You know what I mean? William, I'm sticking to what I've been saying. I believe the timeline, Stephen Gray going back. I don't know if it created those particular individuals, but it definitely did something. It literally created a strand in time that shouldn't have existed. Everybody that we've been watching since he did that, everybody in Endgame is a variant. They all need to be pruned because none of that shit was supposed to happen. You were not supposed to go back there, drop off the gym and be like, hey, your husband that you're supposed to marry, he's not around. Oh, you haven't got married with him yet. why don't you and me, that's not supposed to happen. And I'm like, I was really kind of shocked at the end of that. I'm like, Steve Rogers, the most unselfish character in the world, to say, I need that ass. I missed out. I was robbed of 75 years of that. I got to get it. That just doesn't seem like that's something he would do. But he did it. He did it. So I think that alone is going to cause some variance. But I also think there are other things. Like I said, everything that they did in Endgame caused variances. So I think it's going to be a conglomeration of a bunch of things that happen that Doom is going to explain to us. And even the explanation of how he looks like Robert Downey Jr. is one of the most anticipated things in my life. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready. But thank you for the okay. Oh no, I didn't read it. Was it right for Marvel to change Namor's origin in the MCU from the comics and not make him an Atlantean and a Scotch Rider? Yeah, it worked for that story. It worked for the movie that they were making.
Well, and plus, I mean, not to bring it back to the DC Marvel thing, but I mean, Aquaman had come out prior, and that, I mean, comics wise, they're both Atlantean, but when you get these things cinematically, it's kind of like, okay, it's easy to feel redundant, on that. So it's probably played a decision to kind of alter him from being Atlantean. And I mean, comic book, comic history is like DC Marvel. They've been ripping each other off for like time immemorial.
Namor came first, I believe.
He was Aquaman cinematically was the first.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I'm thinking it's more of they crafted a story, and then when they casted that actor, I think they developed a story about him. But I think they were fine. I think they were fine.
The Underwater City too, in Black Panther, that was such a bore to me. That was one of the reasons why I was on that movie, because Atlantis percentage is just this undersea kingdom.
I just went live according to YouTube. I've been on the air.
Oh, okay. An hour and 20 minutes late.
It's
murky and like
it's random.
Yeah, I didn't like it in Namor's underwater world. Yeah.
Listen, Rational and anybody else, when I'm the comic book guy, I before there were comic book movies, I was reading it off the page. But the biggest fan of all this, I understand when they make changes to characters for cinematic reasons and story reasons. I'm always going to be okay with that. Sometimes I don't like it though, like the Eternals, like the way they handled the Celestials. I had a problem with that. I had a problem with the Eternals being fucking robots. That they lost me there, dude. They lost me. I think that movie could have been much better. I like it as it was, but then the whole errors from talking to people. I'm like, do humans talk to ants? Because that's what we are to the Celestials. So I thought that whole thing was kind of weird. But for the most part, most of the changes that they've made in these movies, I'm okay with. It didn't affect his presence. Like I said on Film Junkie, I almost said Screen Junkie. I'm like, what? Why would I say that? Like I said on Junkie the other night when me and Ray were talking, I think the biggest inhibitor in that movie was the fact that there was no Black Panther there. So when Namor raised up and elevated and escalated his presence in the movie, there was nobody of similar stature to raise to. The king, the monarch of Atlantis, or Tolakan, was rising up to this level, and the true monarch of Wakanda wasn't there. And I know that they did it in the comics and all that, but that's not what the original intention was. So that was my biggest. If anything would have derailed that would be that. But no, as far as them changing his origin, I was okay with it. I thought it was actually kind of cool. Yeah, that's what I mean. He shouldn't have been. Those are not supposed to be his kids. Her original kids and grandkids didn't happen. That alone is a variant. Because she grows old and has grandkids and has, that alone has fucked up the timeline. So the TVA should be in there pruning his ass. But, we will get that explanation coming up. And I look forward to it. But thank you for the $5 super chat, Rational. William, do I have a bad feeling as a comic book reader that Marvel is just going to cancel the Ultimate Universe after, not a bad feeling. It just seems like that's what they're doing. And I haven't gotten any word on anything that's replacing it. By the way, that shit's selling. That Ultimate Endgame #1, that shit sold. Let me look up something because I'm really fucking pissed about that, by the way. That's like somebody sneaking into my store and popping my register and taking money out when you're canceling this. This has been a really well done. Even the blind bags. The blind bags are good. I mean, I really sold that. What comes after Ultimate Endgame? No. This is 6160. Let's see. Yeah, I have not got anything, any acknowledgement of what's going on after Ultimate Endgame, and I'm kind of pissed off about that. That's a sore spot for me. Okay, all right. I think that's it. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No,
relevant to the genre?
The only thing I think of offhand, I mean, there was Golden Globes tonight, and Sinners did pretty good. So
it didn't win where it should have, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so we'll probably be hearing like official nominees for the Oscars pretty soon. You know,
I listen. I don't have a good feeling about any of this. They're going to give it to that Marty Supreme or that one battle after another, and I'm like,
again, my only thing is like just watch the movies. You'll watch the screeners. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. I am going, like I tweeted, I am going to my pre-Will Smith slap of Chris Rock activities when it comes to the Oscars, mainly not watching them. That's going to be it. I will let you guys. No.
How'd you hear about the slap then?
Enosh messaged me.
Yeah, because that was like a wildfire.
Enosh messaged me, but right before that, I got a text. I got a text because it was CNN came in and said, "Oh."
I was sure, like the first 15 minutes after that, I was sure that was staged.
No, when I saw the cops coming up to the thing, and Chris Rock said, "No, I don't want to press charges right now." But yeah, that's prior to that, I had slipped away. I stopped watching the Oscars, and I'm going back to that place again because I don't listen. I don't want if the Oscars don't want to change, fine. But once again, I'm not going to come to a party that I don't feel I'm invited to, and that's what the Oscars is to me. There are plenty of places I can be and plenty of things I can be doing with my time. Oscars, you don't need to change, but there's other places I can be for that night and other things I can be watching, and it's not going to be the Oscars. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it. If you guys got anything additional that you'd like to add, you can put it in the comments, and I'll do my best to respond to you.
Go watch Believe It or Not on Tubi.
Sure, do that.
I'm so amazed you never watched that.
I told you I watched it when I was a kid. That was like 30 fucking years ago, dude.
But no, but the one,
the new one I did not watch at all.
Yeah, that was my intro to it.
You lost me at Dean Cain. If I don't have to watch Dean Cain, I don't.
Well, that was like during his Superman tenure too.
Yeah,
or like on the kind of like on the tail end of it.
So I will not be retroactively watching it. All right, like, subscribe. The next time you guys will see us is going to be, like I said, the new schedule is what I say, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the days we're going to stream it. So there won't be a Wednesday show unless something happens, or I'm doing a review or something like that, or I come home from a screening and I want to talk about it. But other than that, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So we will see you on Tuesday.
All right, see you guys.
All right, let's see if I push. Last time I pushed the button, it gave me some bullshit.
Yeah, it's happened.
Let's see if it actually does the right thing. If it does, then we'll see you on Tuesday. Like, subscribe, spread the word. See y'all later.